Hello and welcome to the Media Club podcast. In our October episode, we discussed our hobbies and interests. Today, we'll be discussing our opinions on the rise of video surveillance. Before we begin today's topic, we are going to introduce our speakers by mentioning our name, grade, school, and answering the question, what are you most excited about for the holidays this year? So I'm Sean. I'm a senior from Troy High School, and I'm most excited for probably going to an ice rink with my friends this winter. So yeah, excited for that.
Hi, my name is Justin Park, and I'm currently enrolled in Woodbridge High School. And what I'm planning to do during break would be to just like sleep more and study for the next unit.
I am Edward Lee, and I am looking forward to spending time with my family over the break.
Hi, my name is Sabrina. I go to Whittier Christian High School. I'm in 11th grade and I'm excited about hanging out with friends and family.
My name is Kaylin Kim, and I'm a junior at Sunny Hills High School, and I'm excited to do Secret Santa with my friends.
Okay, so let's go to our questions. Do you feel safe when you are walking around the city?
I think it would really depend if there are like people around, really, because if there were like no one around, it's just like me and another person, that would probably be pretty scary.
Does it matter like exactly where in the city? So like let's say you're in the open, like on the street, like downtown, where there's like a lot of lights compared to like obviously like somewhere where there's not so many lights or like an alleyway or something.
Yeah, I think the setting would also change how I would, think.
That's cool. What are your thoughts on surveillance cameras in most public places? As you guys probably know, there are probably cameras in a lot of places, just checking out on public areas to make sure nothing's happening. So, what are your general thoughts on that?
I think it depends on the government regime because normally having a camera on a main street to record any shoplifters would be considered normal, I guess. But as in the context of China, as in the protests currently going on in China, I think the fact that the there's surveillance cameras and that every single one of those protesters can be tracked and identified is a terrible thing. So I think that overall the presence of cameras depends on the government regime.
I guess this also brings like additional to cameras. Like we have new technology these days and stuff like what you mentioned, like just realizing who people are just by looking at camera feed using AI. So this question is for you, Edward. Do you think like recent technology like facial recognition is going to be a problem for these cameras in public places?
I believe that this kind of technology is already being implemented and it's showing to be kind of problematic, judging by, the as I said before, the protests in China and what and everything else. But I think in itself it's not too bad, but I don't know.
All right then. Well, on the flip side, what do you guys think are the benefits of surveillance in public spaces?
Obviously, it'll help like to prevent crime. I feel like when people, especially when they know that they're being filmed, like they're less likely to do things that could get them in trouble. And also like for crime, like it can help catch the criminals and also like provide evidence for people.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. In fact, especially with the statement where having a camera on you makes you not want to commit something. So I'll give a little story. My dad has an in my dad's office, he has a dummy camera, so his camera's completely fake. He just has a red LED in it to just just point at the people in the waiting room. And so far, he's actually done like some kind of like he collected data, and it turns out people behave much better with that camera in place than without. So yeah, that camera does make people act maybe as they should in public spaces. Do you think Uber drivers should be able to have surveillance cameras in their car?
I think they should because then like there's been a lot of cases of like Uber's like gone wrong. So I think that just in case Uber should have like a system, cameras or whatever that records.
If you're someone who's riding in the Uber, Do you think you'd be safer with the camera that the Uber drivers install?
Well, actually, maybe there should be like a choice for the people in the car to record or not, because some people might not want that. So it just depends if you feel safe with it on or not.
If you were allowed to tell the driver to record yes or no, you think that might undermine the whole point of a camera, because sometimes for Uber drivers, it's the person that they're actually Ubering for that might cause problems. Just do you think it's problematic that the Uber can actually ask the driver yes or no, turn on the camera?
I think it would indeed be a problem since the passenger can use that actually as their advantage or his or hers advantage to like, do something and claim they really didn't because the camera was actually not on the whole time.
Yep, I agree. Anyways, do you think it's important to have these recordings in the event of a crash or a dispute between a driver and passenger?
Well, yeah, I think that in that case, having, say, a dash cam is essential to. I would go as far to say that having a dash cam in your car is it should be necessary because like dash cams, like it should be more prevalent. Like we should put more effort into putting dash cams in cars, because having them in the car to record like who was at fault, how fast you were going, I think that's invaluable to stuff like insurance claims.
Are there any circumstances in which you think any kind of recording in the car could actually be like harmful? I'll answer this. I guess it can be harmful when, let's say, you're recording like on a dash cam or something, and obviously some dash cams don't record audio, and the video footage can be misleading sometimes. So I guess yeah, not all evidence is perfect, and if you don't take in context to it, it can be used incorrectly. So that could be an issue, like in law cases or anything. So yeah, that's one issue that could show up. Do you feel differently about video recordings depending on where you are and the circumstances you are in? Honestly, the circumstance that I'm looking at here is going to be if you know that you're being recorded. So we all know that if you know, like some people, you know that you're being recorded, then obviously you are gonna probably act different. But if I don't know if I'm getting recorded, then I'll act probably the same as I usually act. Because yeah, there's just this thing when when you're being recorded, you either want to not do anything that could be used against you, or you just want to look your best, like I don't know, like how those people on social media do it. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think whether there's a camera or not, I think that is also a very crucial factor. So yeah.
Are there any situations in which you think you should not be recorded, and other situations when you think it is important or necessary? So basically just honing on this important or necessary. Is it the situations where you think recording is essential?
In places where there are a lot of people, I feel like there's definitely a higher chance of like, I don't know, some like disputes happening or maybe even like crimes. So I feel like it's more important to have like surveillance cameras there, especially in areas like downtown LA where it might be more dangerous.
So for you, the factors are how many people there are and what kind of place it is. Yep, that's cool. Just a quick question. Do you think if you know how like trials work, you'd probably realize that it's mostly surrounded around witnesses, because witnesses are the main type of evidence that trials use. Do you think that the increasing number of cameras will maybe change how that's gonna work?
I just read about like how many people were like wrongly put into jail because of false eyewitness accounts. So I feel like cameras, like you can't lie. There's hard evidence. So I feel like it'll definitely change that.
Yeah, we can go on further about that later, but let's move on here. So each state has its own privacy laws relating to video and audio recording. So, do you think that it's important to have laws that restrict recording, or do you think it should be left to the discretion of each company or business or private individual?
I think in certain circumstances, like you shouldn't record just because, like, just for respect for people. But yeah, so I think that it should be left to like each company or business. But at the same time, if like something bad happens, then there's going to be like no evidence if they choose not to record anything. So it's kind of like hard to answer.
Well, back to the car business. So how do you feel that a lot of cars actually come with their own like CCTV or like camera?
I mean, if they come with a car and if they don't like it, they could just take it out, right?
For those people who would take out the cameras, is there any reason that you'd refuse the camera?
Maybe some people just don't like to be recorded 24/7. Like a lot of people don't like to have a black box in their car because they don't want to be recorded or they don't want to record like where they're going or something like that. So some people just want privacy in their car.
Should cameras be mandatory for houses? If you know the company called Ring, like those doorbells with like cameras on them, probably those. So do you think that should be mandatory?
I don't think it should be mandatory because yet again it's kind of like a matter of like privacy. Everything in I mean it would be great if you like, still had a camera on like a doorbell, but I think it should like not at a point it has to be like mandatory. It's like optional kind of, but it's recommended kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. There's plenty of people out there who probably aren't going to be able to maybe afford like such a system because CCTV systems are pretty expensive. If you first of all, if you want to install it correctly, it's going to take a lot of either remodeling because you need to plug those cameras in, and just those systems itself would cost like thousands. So that may be a problem. Making it mandatory and not paying for it is going to be obviously weird. So, anyways, why do you think so many companies and institutions choose to record people?
Oh, I think it's to for insurance claims. So if someone were to, I don't know, if you were running a coffee shop and someone throws a brick through your window, you can say, "Oh, someone threw a brick through my window. Here you go. My insurance covers this." And mostly for stuff like that.
Right, that's a benefit. Yeah, indeed. So, but what are some of the concerns or dangers with businesses actually recording people? So, the negatives.
I think definitely like privacy concerns, but also like especially if it's like bigger companies, I feel like they could use that to their advantage by cutting like just a small part of what someone said out of context and using it like for their own benefit.
I completely agree. Next question. So, is it really worth it to sacrifice personal freedom over constant surveillance and security?
Oh, I don't think it's worth it. Surveillance in public spaces is one thing, but I think giving up your own personal space, I guess, like your right to not be recorded, I don't think it's worth it for the sake of security, basically.
Yes, fair. Everyone has their own opinions. Honestly, for me, I'd be okay with constant surveillance because let's be honest, I feel like my data is already on the internet everywhere. So like really what difference is gonna make? But everyone has their different opinions. I wouldn't mind if there was like a recording and then if I got in trouble, I'll be like, well, there's like this evidence just sitting here because I was always recorded and I can just show it as proof instead of having to rely on some false witness and deal with that. So yep, that's my take on it. Okay, next question. Which is a more important value to you, personal privacy or national security, and why?
I think like personal privacy is just more important because like if there's cameras like everywhere all the time, that just like takes away a person's right of freedom, and like a lot of people just aren't going to be able to act the way they normally do, and it just will make people uncomfortable if it's like always if something is always recording them.
All right, so let me bring something into light here. So I'm sure you guys all know 9/11 and the horrific events, but what came about from 9/11? So America had the war on terrorism, and because they were all scared of these terrorists being in America, there was something called the National Security Act. And if you guys know, this created a lot of laws and a lot of additions like the TSA and stuff. And these kind of things actually like lowered our personal privacy, and this was all for national security. So this is the exact question we were mentioning beforehand. So I'd like to specifically address the TSA. So this is like the airport security. What's your guys' opinion on the airport security? Any yeah, just any mentions on that?
Personally, I think like it really is a hassle, but I feel like it's necessary, especially because the airplane is such a enclosed space, so anything can happen and you don't know who you're riding with. And especially for like international flights, because you're going into another country and they want to make sure that everyone's safe.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways, so how do you feel about your internet activity being monitored slash watched?
I actually like personally like I think it's not like a really bad thing since like from my personal experience like nothing bad really has happened because of it. And also because like since they monitor like my history and everything, well maybe not my history but like my activities on like for example YouTube, I see some like ads that pop up that are like pretty like that I like, I guess. And then I press on it and it's pretty interesting. So I don't think it's a bad. I think it's more of like a neutral thing.
Do you think if you actually had an actual like bad experience, like someone actually like took your data and did something bad with it, you think you might change your mind about that?
Yeah, of course, probably.
Yeah. I guess does who like because you mentioned that like ads and stuff like that's not like a person monitoring you. That's is more like a company or like a program and collecting data like passively. What if like there's an actual person monitoring? Like, does who that person is matter?
Yeah, I think that would be like a completely different story. Yeah, I would not like that.
Yeah. Okay. Then I'll
Yeah.
ask the same question to everyone else. Does who's monitoring you on the internet like matter, or is it like any different? The police frequently uses CCTV, sorry, cameras to prevent crime. But do these cameras actually make you feel safer?
Yeah, if I'm in like a public area and I'm being recorded, then I would feel safer for sure. Like if I'm outside, then and if I know I'm being recorded, especially at night or something, then I would feel safer.
So if you're on camera, how would you think you'd do something different?
Personally, like for example, if I'm at like a store, I think I act normally because I'm not going to like steal or anything. But if it's in like a smaller area, like maybe like a waiting room or something, I feel like I'm more like quiet because I don't want them to see me like and think that I'm weird or something.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so yeah, that concludes our December podcast. Thank you for listening, everybody.